Many Christians find there to be a contrast between the God of the Old Testament and the God of the New Testament. And they think the God of the Old Testament is more like a consuming fire. The God of the New Testament is more like a compassionate father. I understand where they're coming from, but it's a wrong reading of Scripture in many ways. Remember that the Bible of the first believers, the Bible of the first followers of Jesus, was the Old Testament. That was their text, and they read there about a merciful and compassionate God. They read there about a God who was long-suffering. They read there about a God whom Jesus described as his Father. And Jesus said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. So the God of the Old Testament is the Father of Jesus. Jesus dearly loved his Father. And some of the most glorious expressions of God's compassion and long-suffering and goodness are found in the Old Testament. Just read, for example, Psalm 103 and see what it says about the compassion and long-suffering and kindness of God that's expressed there. But not only so, check out Hebrews chapter 12, verse 29. It says there, therefore let us be grateful for receiving a kingdom that cannot be shaken, and thus let us offer to God acceptable worship with reverence and awe, for our God is a consuming fire. That's a quote. Our God is a consuming fire is a quote from Deuteronomy 4:24. The God of the Old Testament is the God of the New Testament. Now, there is an even greater revelation of grace through Jesus. John 1:17, the law was given by Moses, grace and truth came by Jesus the Messiah. There's even a greater expression of the love of God through Jesus the Messiah. That's absolutely true. God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son. This is a fuller revelation of the love of God than we've ever had before. But the same God, and that's why the New Testament also talks about punishment and even talks about eternal hellfire, so even more grave punishment for sin. The God of the Old Testament is the Father of Jesus, the same God throughout.